Alright, so today we're going to be talking about special angle pairs and how they relate to one another. So the first type of angles we're going to talk about are supplementary angles, and they're adjacent angles. Adjacent just means that they're next to each other, that equal to 180 degrees. So over here we have two angles, and we know that one angle is 150 degree, and we're trying to find out what y equals. So since they're supplementary angles, we can add them together to find out what the second equals. Add them together and set it equal to 180 degrees. So if we minus 150 from both sides, we know that y is equal to 30 degrees, because their total must be 180. Because if you look at this line right here, this line's measurement is equal to 180. So that's why their totals need to equal 180 degrees. So the next type of angle we're going to talk about are complementary angles, and they are adjacent angles, so side by side angles whose total equals 90 degrees. Because if you look at this big angle is equal to 90 degrees because it's a right angle. So over here we have two angles, 63 degrees, and we want to know what y equals. So we add them together and set them equal to 90 degrees. So y equals 27 degrees. Okay, and the last kind of angles we're going to talk about are vertical angles. So, vertical angles are across from one another. So this means that angle 1 and angle 3 are a pair of vertical angles, and angle 2 and angle 4 are another pair of vertical angles. So vertical angles are equal to each other. So the measure of this angle equals the measure of this angle, and the measure of 2 equals the measure of 4. So over here, we have two angles. We know that this is 60 degrees and this is 120 degrees. So since this angle is across from this angle, that means this angle is also 60 degrees. Same thing for 120. So this angle and this angle are going to be equal. So that means this angle is also going to be equal to 120. And we could, if we didn't know that this was 60 degrees, pretend we didn't know that, we could find that out because these two angles are also supplementary angles. So we could have taken 120 plus x is equal to 180, and we would have found out that yes, this is indeed 60 degrees. So those are the three types of angle pairs. So now that we know all three, we're going to do an example using all three of the angle pairs. Okay, so they want us to find the measure of angle A, measure of angle A, angle B, angle C, and angle D. So first, we can find the measure of angle A because this angle right here, who's equal to 100 degrees, and angle A are supplementary angles because they're adjacent, and their totals will equal 180 because this is a line right here. So we can add 100 degrees plus the measure of angle A and set it equal to 180 degrees and find that the measure of angle A is 80 degrees if we subtract 100 from 180. So right here we can put 80 degrees. So I'm going to fill this in so that we remember what this equals. So now I want to find the measure of angle C. We can do this two ways. We can set 150 plus B equal to 180 because these are supplementary angles. Or we could set 150 equal to C because these are vertical angles and then do the supplementary angles for this one. But first I think what we're going to do is solve for B. So since these are supplementary angles, we're going to take 150 degrees plus the measure of angle B and set it equal to 180 degrees because these two angles form a line. So if we subtract 150 from both sides, we find that the measure of angle B is equal to 30 degrees. So we can fill that in and fill that in. So since B and D are across from each other, that means they're vertical angles. And vertical angles have equal measures. So that means the measure of angle B is equal to the measure of angle D. Since we know that the measure of angle B equals 30, that also means the measure of angle D has to equal 30. So we can fill that in right there. And for angle C, we're going to do two things. First, we're going to set C equal to 150 because this angle and this angle are across from each other. So they're vertical angles, and vertical angles are equal. So that shows that this is also equal to 150, but we're going to check it by adding angle B and angle C together because they are vertical angles. So if we add the measure of angle B, which we found to be 30 degrees, plus the measure of angle C and set it to 180 degrees because they're supplementary angles, if we subtract 30 from both sides, we'll get 150, and either way, it still gives you 150 degrees for your answer. So those are all the special angle pairs. Make sure you watch next time when we talk about classifying triangles by sides and angles.